Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 11. So Module 11 is our last poetry module. It includes your final poem assignment as well as the feedback discussion board, just like you did with the short stories. So the module itself, there's not really anything new to read or to understand for this module, but I do have some sample poems in here just so that sometimes you can kind of get stuck in your own creation of poems, and so it's hard to come up with ways to either give your peers feedback or to create your own poetry without looking at examples. So these are all examples from the textbook just to kind of show you what other people have done with poetry. I think that these are all just really good examples of what can be done with poetry that might help inspire you. You definitely can read all of the poems in the textbook, but you want to make sure that you are reading, and you can definitely look online, but make sure that you're reading some good poetry. There's a lot of poetry out there. Not all of it is good poetry. So your fourth poetry assignment is just to write a poem of your choosing. Just like the short story assignment, this one's open. Some students kind of choose something that they've been bothered by, something that they really want to get into a poem. A lot of times writing poetry can be a little bit cathartic, so it allows you to explore something, an idea, a problem, an issue, something personal. You definitely can put this into a poem. Obviously, I will be reading your poem. You have the choice of whether or not this goes on the discussion board to share with other students, but just kind of consider that this is an official poetry assignment, so you may want to consider the topic before you write about it. So at least three lines. Some students will do a haiku for this one because they like writing haiku, and that's fine. If it's something other than a fixed form, I expect at least 5 lines just to have a poem out of it. 3 lines, I mean, you could do like a 2-line poem, that's possible, but it's usually we need more than that. It needs to be consistent with a clear subject, use of line breaks, imagery, specific details, etc. If you plan to use a form for this one, so you're maybe trying out a different kind of form, that's fine. Just make sure you tell me what form you're trying to use. That way I can help you out. That's feedback. I can't give you any feedback if I don't know what form you were using. If you're writing free verse, remember free verse typically does not rhyme. So this is a spot to submit your 4th poem, and then the last thing that you'll do, or the second thing you'll do in the module, is complete the discussion board. So this is again a chance for you to give feedback and receive feedback. That is one of the key criteria of the class. So one of our major outcomes for the class is to participate in discussion and critique of others' work. And so in this case, you are submitting at least 2 of your poems to the discussion board. Please make sure you upload them separately. If you put them in the same post, that means that students will either feel obligated to write about both of them, or you won't get separate feedback. So it's not going to be, there's not going to be as many on the discussion board for people to respond to. So make sure that, you know, when you hit reply and you put your first poem in there, and then you post it before you do your second poem. And then that will allow people to actually respond to each one. So you're posting 2 of your poems and then responding to 3. Most of your poems you should be able to just copy and paste straight into the text box, and that makes it easier for students to access, so they're not downloading a file, which is really nice, unless it's either a really long poem or one that is like shaped somehow. Then sometimes it's just better if you upload the file that it comes from. I've had a couple of students do ransom note poems, I think is what they're called, where you have like different words that look like they've been cut out of newspapers, and they're really cool, but they don't go on Canvas. You can't copy and paste them in the text box. So then your response post, you're going to pick 3 poems to respond to, and then you're going to just 5 changes that they need to make, some feedback overall. Remember, you're not Don't duplicate other people's responses. There's a lot of checklists in the chapter, the beginning of the textbook, in the middle of the textbook. There's a lot of checklists to help you out. Those would be areas that you could look at for what kind of response you should be giving your peers. So those that will be the next part of it. Make sure that you get your poem submitted early. Otherwise, other students don't have a chance to finish the discussion board. And then, of course, you have the self-assessment quiz when you're done. And then don't forget, you should be completing journal entries. If you haven't actually submitted any, that's fine. Make sure that you're completing them. Some students upload each entry separately, and some students put them all in one document and submit them all at once, and that's fine. Whichever is fine with me. Just make sure that you're doing them. That is your task. If you have any questions, if you are not sure if your poem is meeting the requirements or the guidelines, definitely send me an email, send me a copy, that kind of thing. Otherwise, have a great week.